Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It has been a decade, 10 years of struggle. Every year, every winter. But this year, particularly, has been catastrophic in Lebanon. Not only hitting the refugee community and its vulnerable and marginalized hosts, but every single household in the country. Our theme this year is resilience. And what a year of resilience it has been for all of us in Lebanon. We, as Lebanese CSOs, had to step in and make miraculous efforts to respond to the numerous COVID lockdowns, a crumbling health sector, an out-of-control hyperinflation, and last but not least, the disastrous Beirut blast. After this exemplary, heroic intervention by the many CSOs that has clearly shown the tremendous impact that was delivered, we are calling for everyone here to focus on local actors. Local actors understand the context best, including what is and is not possible. They cover the majority of the country in all its communities, mirroring its diversity. Nevertheless, nothing can be done without the resources to support it. And at each layer of separation between the donor and the beneficiaries, the risk of inefficiency, waste, and lack of realism increases. We need consistent investment to achieve sustainable livelihoods, education, protection, civic engagement, healthcare, shelter, governance, justice, gender equality, stability, and peace, or durable solutions. In the focus on local actors, we must stress the urgent need for increased funding and increased local engagement at all project stages and across all sectors. It is imperative to engage with us specifically at the design stage of project planning and at the evaluation and monitoring phases, and given more time for organizations to think and design their projects to avoid redundancy and rushed initiatives. Seek input from local partners, and not just for the sake of it, but engage in this input. Be flexible and change planned projects where appropriate. In Lebanon, the situation on the ground is changing dynamically every single day, and only the local actors know how to best work efficiently under these highly stressful and shifting times. That being said, and in order to empower the communities that we service, we must stress on the need to shift from a humanitarian mode of livelihood programming to a developmental mode, with a focus on sustainable job creation for women in particular. There needs to be, in these difficult times in the country, a robust and worker-centric monitoring and inspection to ensure safe and dignified work conditions. In addition, we need to make sure that the programs being conducted are suitable for each individual community and its needs. Another important sector that needs a large intervention is education. And in response to COVID and the grave changes that have come over the world in response, it is vital to develop inclusive and adaptive curricula, including children with minor disabilities, in order to ensure the full inclusion of these individuals in society. Education alone is not sufficient. Under the continued strenuous circumstances, integrating mental health services into regular educational curricula to improve both educational outcomes and social welfare is vital. This, of course, is not enough. We need support from everyone here through scholarships and political encouragement to the host government to lower barriers to entry to secondary education, vocational programs, and university education. And as always, there needs to be pressure, both financial and political, to maintain and expand the civic space and the integrity of the rule of law. This space that has been the savior this past year across Lebanon in its unprecedented crises. The space for us to operate has been shrinking, and with it, our ability to carry on a civic debate about refugees or other issues. We ask donors and the EU to leverage their power to support and maintain a healthy civic movement. In such times of dire circumstances, the humanitarian intervention, the most fundamental pillar of survival, needs to be front and center. Lebanon specifically has been dealing with extraordinary and escalating humanitarian crises. This is why we are recommending immediate cash assistance for refugees and host communities alike. There also needs to be a serious push and advocacy for import support for vital medical and food supplies to mitigate the impact of the currency crisis, bearing in mind that any such support and distributions must be done with the principles of fairness and do no harm. There's also a large fear in the sector of the dramatic rise in social tensions and discrimination during the COVID-19 pandemic in particular, which requires increased investment in conflict resolution, prevention, and psychosocial support. For survivors of violence, we know very well that an ongoing challenge is that the lack of legal status interferes with refugees' ability to report and receive protection from violence, harassment, and crime. We need regularization measures to lower these barriers. This also falls in line with the parallel increase in SGBV and domestic violence that has accompanied the coronavirus lockdowns and economic stress. Here, we also recommend an increase in remote access for those victims with access to technology, but also an immediate increase in service provision and outreach, including psychosocial support to save lives. Lebanon might not be in the headlines of news anymore, but its situation continues to deteriorate, and along with it, those most vulnerable communities. We boast our resilience, but in reality, we don't want to be resilient anymore. But today, we are seeking any sense of normalcy and redundancy. As the world struggles to deal with a vicious third wave of COVID and a struggling global economy, Lebanon is spinning out of control into dark times. This is why it is important to keep Lebanon on everyone's radar. Commit to funding local actors that are making a difference in people's lives every day while trying to maintain their own ability to operate within this highly volatile environment. All the financial, technical, and psychosocial support is needed in order to bypass this very difficult time. It might be 10 years since the Syrian refugee crisis started, but each and every one of us here is liable and able to make a difference. This year in Lebanon has peaked in the struggle, and we can only move forward with the right support and investment by each and every one of you. Thank you.